On today's episode of Watch JR Go, my $5,000 Corvette transports electricity correctly. What is going on, guys? I am Watch JR Go, and today I'm here with my 2000 Corvette C5 convertible I bought for just $5,000. And when I bought it, of course, it had one major problem. It had been eaten by rats. So we are calling this the Ratvette now or something, I think. And it needs one thing to actually fix the car. So far, we've done wheels, tires, suspension. We basically got all the stuff that I wanted figured out, but not the one thing that I needed. And that was a wiring harness. And it's really hard to find a wiring harness for this car and one that's not hacked up. Well, after the last video, huge thank you to you guys. I got so many emails and comments and everything about harnesses for this thing. But the very first one found it. There was a new one on eBay that I hadn't seen yet, along with the old one I had seen. The old one was hacked up. It said in the notes that it had already been modified. I wanted one that was completely stock because if it's been modified, it might not work correctly. So now let's start this thing up. I'm going to show you guys everything that's wrong with it, and then let's unbox this harness and get to changing. All right, hopping in the C5, and yes, we might try to repair the clear in another video. A couple of people asked for it. This is a car where I definitely don't care. We could try to repair it, and it's kind of worth a shot. But when we hop in this thing here, we will turn the key, and you will see all the problems immediately. Oh, the battery died. It's been sitting for so long. The jump pack's connected. It should start right up now. I need to charge that battery. There. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. So it's tough to tell, but the car is shaking from the misfire. You can kind of see it right there on the sun visor. You can see the sun visor jumping up and down. Oil pressure gauge always says 0. Battery voltage works, fuel works, coolant temp doesn't really work, but the really bad one here is the oil temp. Let's go to gauges here. All right, go away, go away. Get oil pressure. Yeah, so no oil pressure and oil temp low, but after it idles for maybe 3 minutes, it'll say oil temp extremely high, shut down engine. Okay, so first things first, I'm gonna pull the battery out and put it on a charger. It's been sitting too long. And then let's start swapping out this wiring harness. Let's take a look at it. And this is my new wiring harness. Did I open it correctly? It's a pizza, right? Open it like a pizza. Hey, look at that. That does look like a nice stock harness. Please have no cuts. Please no cuts. Please no cuts. Here's the ECU ends. This is the red-blue ECU. And if you're into GM ECUs, you probably know all the colors. It's pretty funny. Yep, I don't see any repairs so far. There we go. That's what I needed. Yes. Okay, so now once the battery tray's out, it should let me get to that harness quite a bit easier. And this will let me put this thing on the charger, bring it back to life again. And this harness looks a lot easier than I expected. I think the LS1's easier than all the new cars. Let's see if we can set some type of record here. First, I doubt we can set a record, but I'm gonna start over there because it's the very front of the harness. So we're gonna come in here. Look at that, even the map's been repaired, which is disheartening. So, oh man, and the tabs are broken off. So that's cool. Well, we can get IAT, and we can get the throttle body. So far, so good. Alternator, injectors. I'll start with the coils because they're kind of in the way. There we go. Okay, one whole rail of injectors is off. And now, hey, I guess these are going in the trash anyway. Okay, there we go. I saved it. I might have to replace one of those, so figured I'd be nice and save them. All right, there we go. We're pretty far back. Now I need to pull the alternator off. 13 or so. You do have to love GM for the all odd number metric. It is the best way to do everything. 10, 13, 15, I like it, all odd number, 10. And the battery's 8. But once you get big, it's always like drop the nut and then 13, 15, 17. But I'll find that nut. It went all the way to the floor. That's good. Cool. Good progress so far. All right, now for the passenger side. TPMS. Get this clip off of here. Injectors again. And it's mostly just injectors over here. We have dropped basically every one of the O-rings out of this thing for the seals. And we're just about there. So I think all we really have left is the starter and getting this thing over the back of the intake. That's it. Pop these things off. Now the ECUs and the engine harness and all of these big plugs.
A few minutes later.
Well, we thought this was gonna be easy, but it turns out it was not that easy. We had to pull the intake off, and you can see there's quite a bit of dirt down here in the valley, all kinds of leaves and stuff like that. And right here, the most fun, most interesting thing, this thing has a steam spider on it. That's kind of cool, old school.
That's a delicacy in some places.
Yes, it is. Steamed spider. Take a look right back there, and you can see the oil pressure sender has no wires. And that would explain why we have no oil pressure. So we're gonna sort all that out, get that thing off there. Oh yeah, there's the wires. Huh.
You were talking about a Bluetooth funnel before.
Yeah, Bluetooth, that's Bluetooth oil pressure right there. Except Bluetooth funnels work great.
They were way ahead of their time.
This doesn't work very well.
Looks like the crank position sensor might also have some chewing on it.
Yeah, no wonders it's hard to start. I bet that's trash. The copper doesn't make it all the way. And it's tough to see that.
It's the red wire, probably the 5 volt.
Yep. Now, found all the problems with the car.
Huh.
All right, harness fixes it as we thought. Time to get a brush in here and a vacuum in here. We'll get this all cleaned out and start, well, working on it at least.
The intake ports are really clean though.
They are very clean.
It tells me the PCV system wasn't sucking a bunch of oil out of the valve cover, so that
True.
Minimal blow by.
True. I mean, it's a 80,000 mile engine. It should be perfect.
Yeah, it checks out. And
the C5 gets a little bit more race car. We EGR deleted it. There was no way around it. Like Josh said, peace was never an option. There's a bolt for the ground on the back of the head that is literally impossible to get to unless you like pull the engine out. So we went ahead and got rid of the EGR that was directly in the way. Basically the check valve rides up against the bolt. I got the bolt all the way out except for maybe 2 turns and there was no more. It's just completely stuck. So now it is truly out. It was either do that right there or stick a pry bar in there and work until it bends out of the way. But now it's off and we're down to 2 bolts on the back of the head and the whole harness is off in the starter. So we gotta lift it up. Hey, let's take a look at this repaired wiring harness now that it's out of the car. So we have that, which is actually a reasonable repair with the Dorman plug on it, clearly. And then we have, let's see, oil pressure, chewed through. Ground to the head, chewed through. Cam position, chewed through. That one, the coils all survived. There's definitely a coil miswire somewhere, or because there's that misfire. Everything down by the starter seemed like it lived. And they said they repaired the whole harness, which makes me think all of this should have been where it was rewired, but I'm not sure it was ever even repaired by anybody. Yeah, I think what they might have done here, oh, that's had some work done. You can see that might be like a coil ground that's pulled out of that ground block. Yep, that's interesting. What's it look like on a good one? Oh, they look exactly the same. I don't see any repairs. We do know this harness here was trash. And this does look like a perfect match. So hopefully we're good to go as soon as we get this one in. Time for the new harness to go in. So it takes a long time to actually route this. It helps, we'll both get in there and then we can kind of rip it through carefully and start putting this thing back up. So doing this harness, you probably want to lift. You can do it on the ground, obviously, but there's a whole lot you have to take care of underneath this engine. So all the starter, Josh is wrapping up the starter right now. There's like 3 wires on that and an oil level sensor right there that's nearly impossible to get out. Crank position behind the starter, of course. And over here on the oil filter is oil temp. That's a fun one, and that was definitely broken on this car. And you have to pull some grounds off the block. You can see that shiny spot on the block there, and all the O2s on both sides. So 4 O2 connectors on the bottom, and that is most of the harness on the bottom. And you have to take the fuse box out and pull a full block out for the interface to the engine harness.
Battery tray,
ECU, so wheel well liner. It's involved. It's very...
EGR tubes.
Look, man. So every car needs EGR deleted. It's just a thing that happens.
No judgment, just saying.
The harness is completely back in, and everything is so much nicer than when we found it. This thing is put back together like the way GM engines are supposed to be, instead of the hacky way other people had done it in the past after they took stuff apart. So it's all back together. Josh is bringing the battery over here. We're gonna put that in and start it for the first time. Hopefully, no more codes and oil pressure and oil temp and everything. We had a little bit of a misfire with our first outing here. There was a terminal missing off the fuse block, and as soon as we hooked that up, the gauges came back to life. Basically, we didn't have body power, so we didn't have ignition, so we couldn't turn the car on. But now we have ignition, and we're gonna start it for the first time on the new harness, hopefully. I have a feeling everything's gonna work, but TPMS, obviously. Oh, wow.
Got some coolant on those hoses.
Yeah, we got a lot of coolant on the hoses. I mean, on the belts. Still shaking?
It does seem like it still has a little bit of a miss.
It does. It might actually need coils and plugs.
Yeah, it's number 2 right here.
Oh.
Cold test.
The quick feel it. All those are warm.
Hot. 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 Cold.
Cold?
Yeah, the first one and the second one.
Weird.
Nope, that one's hot.
Oh, so it's this one.
It's that one.
It might actually just be that one wire.
So you want to swap wires?
I guess we could real quick. Yeah, let's do it. Try number 2. We switched these 2 plug wires. It's still misfired. Let me see it shaking. Oh well. We'll get a set of wires. That's all that's left here. You got oil pressure, right? Oh yeah, excellent oil pressure. Oil pressure, 47. Yeah. Next one should be oil temp. Good. It doesn't say extremely high. Coolant temp's good. Trans fluid. Oh yeah. We're good here. Oh man, the camera's not focusing. TPMS doesn't work. There's no sensors. I think we fixed everything but the misfire. Misfire troubleshooting should be pretty easy, honestly. Like, change that first plug and wire.
It's just a tune-up.
Yeah, that's it. And this thing's back on the road. $500 for a wiring harness, and
$400 for the wheels.
$400 for the wheels, and I've got $300 in the suspension, and that's all the money in this car. Not too bad.
$6,200 Corvette.
60 tip, exactly.
$6,200 sorted Corvette.
Right, except for the paint. So, yeah. And it could use a top. You know, it sat outside, but we'll clean this thing up.
80,000 mile Corvette.
80,000, super low mile car.
That's the big point.
Well, that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop.watchjericho.com where you get cool shirts like the one I'm wearing under this hoodie. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. And I'll talk to you next time. It's 5 a.m. But hey, we started at like 1 or something, right?
Yeah.
So that's not terrible.
Yep.
Not the worst.
I think it took 7 trains.
Yes, 7 trains if you're counting in trains. And plus we did the EGR delete. And that is what we're hearing. It sounds kind of nasty when you were out.
Yeah, the exhaust leaks.
Yeah, so I'll get the EGR block offs next, and we'll delete this check valve, and that'll clean up everything under the hood, make it easy to work on, easy to change plugs, and
throw the HP tuner on it.
Yes.
Delete that.
Yeah, we do need to delete that. So
a couple degrees of timing maybe.
Yep. Add a little timing. Should be good to go.
Firm up a shift point or two.
Line pressures max. Race car.
Chirping Brodies.
That's as soon as we do that.
Skirt, skirt.
Yep.